very significant yung salaysay ni John, yung pagkakakwento niya patungkol sa pagkabuhay muli ni Lazarus, no? Remember, si Christ is God in the flesh, no? Remember, siya ay God in the flesh. He knows everything, no? Alam niya yung sabi nga ni John, He knows the hearts of every man. You know what is in the heart of every man. Alam ng Panginoon Jesus kung ano yung mangyayari because He is God nga in the flesh. He is divine, no? So alam ng Panginoon Jesus lahat ng mga mangyayari dahil nga sa kanyang uh, pinaka-persona, which is God in the flesh, no? So ngayon, alam natin na yung pagkamatay ni Lazarus is, sabi nga niya, kung babasahin natin yung first part ng chapter 11, everything is for the glory of God, no? That the Father may be glorified through His Son, no? Nagkasakit si Lazarus, natulog siya, so that yun nga, the Father may be glorified through the Son. So alam ng Panginoon Jesus yung purpose. Kaya sinabi niya sa umpisa pa lang na he will be resurrected. Mabubuhay siya muli, no? So alam niya yun, no? But nice nating pagtuon na lang ng pansin na sa Gospel ni John, yung resurrection ni Lazarus, yun yung pinakahuling miracle na itinala na isinulat ni John before the arrest of Jesus Christ. Kasi after this one, after ng miracle niya na binuhay niya muli si Lazarus, ano na siya, hindi na siya nagturo pa sa public areas, no? He spent more time with his disciples, with close friends in Martha, but he did not go out preaching and teaching the public, no? Naglimit na lang siya ng time niya sa mga disciples after this. So, remember, ano yung purpose ng Panginoon Jesus dito is for Him to defeat death, no? Dahil nga sinasabi niya, I am the resurrection and the life. And paraan para ma-demonstrate na siya ngayon talagang resurrection and the life na meron siyang kapangyarihan over kamatayan is i-demonstrate na yon sa pamamagitan ng pagkabuhay muli ni Lazarus by resurrecting Lazarus from the grave. So, importante yon, no? Dahil remember, Jesus has to show that He has defeated sin and death. Of course, nakakita natin yan during His resurrection. Pero as a prelude, para ipakita niya sa mga disciples niya, followers niya, na He has power over death, is na kinakailangan niyang buhayin muli si Lazarus for the sake nga. Remember, nag-pray siya sa Father, not for His sake, but for the sake of His disciples, para maniwala sila, para makita nila. So, importante makita natin yung kahalagahan ng pagkakasulat ni John sa resurrection of Lazarus. Dahil yung pagkabuhay muli ni Lazarus, alam ng Panginoong Jesus na ito yung simula ng kaniyang kalbaryo, if you like, no? Ito yung simula ng paggulong ng kaniyang kalbaryo patungo sa krus, no? Sa Calvary, no? Simula iyon ang kanyang paghihirap. Dahil makita natin later on na nung nabuhay si Lazarus, doon na nagsimulang kumilos ang mga Hudyo, ang pinuno ng mga Hudyo para arestuhin at patayin ang Panginoong Hesukristo. So, hindi natin pwede hindi natin ma-overemphasize yung milagrong na resurrect si Lazarus. Very important yun dahil yun nga yung simula ng direksyon. Simula ito ng paggulong, kumbaga, ng arrest ng Panginoon Jesus leading to His crucifixion. Meaning, simula ito ng kanyang paghihirap in the flesh, exactly, as man, no? So, alam niya na nung bubuhay si Lazarus, being God in the flesh, knowing all things, nung bubuhay si Lazarus, alam niya na ito na yung simula, no? Alam niya, so, kaya nasabi ng ibang theologians, maaari yun ang dahilan kung bakit siya sa previous passages, he was moved, troubled in the spirit, napaluha siya dahil alam niya na once na mabuhay si Lazarus, yun na yung simula ng kanyang persecution, no? Kaya alam niya, and of course, in the flesh, alam niya na, nako, mahirap nga talaga, ito na, simula na talaga, no? That is why lagi sinasabi, he was troubled, moved, he wept, no? So, importante makita natin yung konteksto ng miracle na yan, no? So, Nakita natin last time, after buhayin si Lazarus, tinawag niya, kinumfort niya si Martha, and then sinabi niyang tanggalin yung nakapulupot kay Lazarus, no? So ito na yung sumunod na nangyari. Many of the Jews, no, who had come with Mary and had seen what he did believe in him, sabi mga naniwala, no? Many, sabi ni John, but some of them went to the Pharisees and told them what Jesus had done. So the chief priests and the Pharisees gathered the council and said, "What are we to do? No, for this man performs many signs. If we let him go on like this, everyone will believe in him, and the Romans will come and take away both our place and our nation." No? But one of them, Caiaphas, who was the high priest that year, said to them, "You know nothing at all, nor do you understand that it is better for you that one man should die for the people, not that the whole nation should perish." He did not say this of his own accord, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that Jesus would die for the nation, not for the nation only, but also to gather into one the children of God who are scattered abroad. So from that day on, they made plans to put him to death, Jesus Christ. Jesus therefore no longer walked openly among the Jews, but he went from there, Bethany, to the region near the wilderness to a town called Ephraim, and there he stayed with the disciples. Now the Passover of the Jews was at hand, malapit na yung Passover, no? And many went up from the country to Jerusalem before the Passover to purify themselves. Bahagi ng kanilang ritual na maglilinis sila, hugasan nila. They were looking for Jesus and saying to one another as they stood in the temple, "What do you think? That he will not come to the feast at all?" Now the chief priests and the Pharisees had given orders that if anyone knew where Jesus was, he should let them know so that they might arrest Jesus. So ito na yung simula, yung resurrection ni Lazarus, yun ay simula talaga ng persecution and arrest of, leading up to the arrest of Jesus Christ. Now, konteksto lang muna, no? Paliwanag natin yung konteksto dito. Historically, we have to understand na ang Judea, in Judea, was under Roman Empire, no? Ang namumuno doon is ang Roman Empire, no? And yung Jewish community, meron silang special privilege, kumbaga, if you like, na para, kasi malaki populasyon ng mga Hudyo noon, no? Para hindi manggulo, kumbaga, para manatili ang kapayapaan between the Roman authorities and the Jewish community, binigyan ng parang privilege ang Sanhedrin, they call it. Sanhedrin, ito yung legislative and judicial body ng mga Hudyo, na sige, you can manage your own affairs. Yan. Bahala kayo i-manage sa mga affairs ng mga Hudyo, pero pagdating sa mga Roman citizens, kami ang bahala. No? Pagdating sa imposition ng penalty, Roman authorities may authority na magpataw ng parusa. Ang mga Hudyo, wala. No? But they can govern among themselves. So meron tinatawag na agreement between the Jewish community and the Roman Empire para lang magkaroon ng peace. But syempre, it was still the Roman authority, Roman Empire pa rin ang in control. Balikan natin ang history natin. Remember, during that time, si Caesar, yung Roman Emperor, was considered as God. That no one should be called God or Lord except Caesar. No? Kaya nung sinabi ni Paul sa Romans na if anyone confess that Jesus is Lord, that was a statement against the Roman Empire because the Roman Empire was saying there is no other Lord except Caesar. No? So we have to understand yun ang background niyan, yun ang background noon, no? The Jews were living under Roman authority at meron na sila parang special privilege to govern their affairs but not absolute authority. No? That Roman Emperor pa rin may authority na magpataw ng parusa. Kaya remember, nung na-aresto si Jesus Christ, yung mga Hudyo, hindi sila nag-impose ng penalty but rather si Pontius Pilate. Kaya tinanong niya, anong gusto niyo gawin? No? Just to appease the Jews. Right? So, yun ang background yan. So, kaya nang sinabi dito, yung iba mga Hudyo nagpunta sa Pariseo, yung chief priests, no, and the Pharisees gathered the council, yung Sanhedrin, no? At sabi nila, anong gagawin natin? Sabi, for this man, referring to Jesus, parang siyang ginagawang milagro, kumbaga, no? Kung pababayaan natin siya, lahat ay maniniwala sa kanya, darating ang mga Romans, the Roman Empire, and they will take away both our place and our nation. Bakit? Kasi remember, yung Messiah na pinapaniwalaan ng mga Jews, ang akala nila is political leader. No? So, natatakot yung mga Pariseo, mga Hudyo, na pagka marami naniniwala kay Jesus na Messiah, na political leader, baka dumating ang mga Roman authorities, at tanggalin yung ating karapatan, ang ating pribilehiyo, at mawala na tayo. No? Mawala tayo dahil nga ayaw nila na may ibang political leader. No? So natatakot sila. Kaya sabi nila, the Romans will come and take away both our place in our nation. No? But one of them, si Caiaphas, high priest. So remember, yung high priest, siya lang yung pwede pumasok sa Holy of Holies. No? Sabi ni Caiaphas, wala kayong nalalaman. Mas mabuting mamatay ang isang tao para sa lahat, nang sa gayon hindi maglaho ang buong Israel o ang buong bansa. Hindi niya dito tinutukoy yung tungkol sa salvation. Dahil remember, ang gusto nila is ma-preserve yung kanilang status. Kaya ang sabi nila, kumbaga, sinasabi nila, i-refresh natin na mas mabuti mamatay na lang si Jesus para maligtas yung bansa natin. Kaya sabi dito, from that day on, they made plans to put him to death. So dapat makita natin yung konteksto nun. He was not saying something about the salvation, but rather, si Caiaphas, being part of the Sanhedrin, ang sinasabi niya mas mabuting mamatay na nga yung tao yun para hindi tayo mawala, para hindi tayo tanggalin ng Roman authorities, no? Pero si John, nagbigay ng comment si John. Sabi ni John, Caiaphas did not say this of his own accord, but being high priest, he prophesied that Jesus would die for the nation. Ang pagkakaintindi ni Caiaphas is, mamatay nga si Jesus para maligtas yung Israel from the Roman authorities. Yun ang pagkakaintindi niya. Not knowing it is about the plan of redemption or salvation. No? Hindi niya alam yun. Kasi kaya nasabi niya, he did not say this of his own accord. Ang pagkakaintindi niya, dapat mamatay pa rin si Jesus para hindi masira yung relasyon ng Roman at ng Jewish. Kaya sabi ni John, so from that day on, they made plans to put him to death. So yung konteksto nun, yun ang konteksto nun. So the death of Lazarus was, sabi nga ni Christ, so that God may be glorified through Jesus. How? Because Jesus will show that He has power over death. Binuhay niya si Lazarus. At dahil marami nakakita nun, eventually marami naniwala, and doon nagsimula na yung plano para i-crucify si Christ. No? So, kinakailangan maunawaan natin, no? Maunawaan natin na merong pangamba ang mga Hudyo, yung Jewish leadership. May pangamba sila na pag si Jesus itinanggap na political messiah, darating ang mga Romano at sila ay alisin, ikukulong. Tawag doon? I-overrule sila, no? I-govern sila. No? So, if Jesus is accepted as the Messiah, yun na, merong concern na wala na. Tapos na yung maliligayang araw, kumbaga, ng mga Pariseo. Makikita mo yan sa verses 47-48, sabi doon. No? The chief priests and the Pharisees gathered the council and said, what are we to do? Because this man performs many signs. If we let him go like this, everyone will believe in him. The Romans will come and take away both our place and our nation. So yun ang background nun, no? Sabihin natin, yung high priest nun, si Caiaphas, kasama siya sa mga gusto na rin patayin si Jesus para lang hindi masira yung kanilang status, no? Na namumuno doon sa Jewish group o Jewish community, no? But again, sabi nga ni John, hindi niya sinabi ito ni John, mali ang pagkakaintindi kumbaga ni Caiaphas sa kanya sinabi, not knowing that it is about the redemption of God's people, no? Now, maliwanag na misinterpret ng mga Hudyo, no? Ibig sabihin, maliwanag na hindi naintindihan ng mga Hudyo yung sinabi na Caiaphas na it is better for one man to die than for the nation to perish. Obviously, alam nila na hindi salvation ang tinutukoy noon kasi nga, sabi natin ito, makikita natin doon na they decided to make plans to put him to death, no? So it was still ang kanilang inintindi was yung kanilang political interest. But alam natin that John sa kanyang komentaryo, he explained that the death of Jesus is not to save the Jewish leadership, but his death will provide a way of redemption and salvation, not only for the Jews, but for the people or the children, scattered children of God. No, referring of course to the Gentiles, no? Gentiles. Remember, babalik tayo sa John chapter 10, sabi ng Panginoon Jesus na meron din ako mga tupa sa ibang fold. I must bring them also. So ito na sinasabi nga, no? It is referring to the salvation not just of the Jews but also of the Gentiles, no? So, again, we have to understand na sina Caiaphas at yung mga Hudyo, ang mga Fariseo, Sanhedrin, ang kanilang pagkakaintindi is patayin si Jesus para hindi masira yung status ng mga Fariseo. From that day on, they made plans to put him to death. Ano yung significance nun? Ito yung sinasabi natin, the resurrection of Lazarus started o gave, ito yung nagpabilis, kumbaga, ito yung nagpasimula ng paggulong para maaresto ang Panginoong Hesukristo at ma-crucify, no? Without of course, without the death of Lazarus, hindi ma-demonstrate ng Panginoong Jesus yung kanyang power and authority over death. Kaya talagang kinakailangan mamatay ni Lazarus para maipakita ng Panginoon na meron siyang kapangyarihan over death, no? Sabi nga natin, Jesus being God in the flesh, alam niya na may pangamba, may threat, no? May pangamba sa buhay niya once na buhayin niya si Lazarus dahil ito na yung simula ng kanyang paghihirap. Simula na siya aarestuhin at ipapersecute, no? We have to understand also na yung, siyempre, dahil ng panahon na yun, nung nabuhay yung patay, siyempre, balitang kakalat, no? Mabilis kumalat yung balitang yan, no? So, kaya kung mabasa mo sa verse 55, ang dami naghahanap kay Jesus Christ because of the story, no? Na nabuhay si Lazarus. And then sa chapter 12, makikita natin sa chapter 12 na dahil nga masyado nang dumadami yung kumakalat yung balita sa resurrection ni Lazarus, pati yung mga Hudyo, sabi ng mga Pariseo, patayin na rin si Lazarus. Dahil sa, siyempre, dati siyang patay. Ngayon, nakitang naglalakad. Makikita natin sa chapter 12 na plinano na rin ng mga Hudyong patayin si Lazarus para tumigil na yung balitang pagkalat sa muling pagkabuhay ni Lazarus. The fact being is, yung resurrection ni Lazarus, talagang very significant yon sa redemption story natin, no? Very significant siya sa redemption story, no? Kaya nagalit yung mga Pariseo sa 57, sabi niya doon, kung meron mang makakita kay Jesus Christ, sabi niya, kung sino makakita, sabihin ninyo para ma-aresto siya. Why? Because that is part of the plan. That is part of the plan, no? Siyempre, alam natin na because Jesus, God in the flesh, alam niya hindi pa appointed time, nagpunta siya sabi sa passage, nagpunta siya sa Ephraim, no? Nagpunta siya sa Ephraim. Dito yung lesson, makikita mo yung lesson dito, no, na akala ng mga Hudyo yung plano nila is natutupad, patayin si Jesus Christ. So, of course, they were successful. Naging successful sila, no? Akala nila nagtatagumpay yung kanilang planong patayin, but not knowing that they were actually accomplishing God's plan of redemption. Makikita mo dito yung sovereignty ng Panginoon Jesus, ng Panginoon Diyos, ng Panginoon Jesus pati, no? Makikita mo yung sovereignty of God being in control, that thinking that man thinks, mga Hudyo, mga Sanhedrin, akala nila yung plano na nila ang natutupad. Hindi nila alam, they are actually accomplishing the beautiful plan of God's redemption story, no? And we can learn something from this. We can learn something from this event. Nakakala ng mga Hudyo sila natutupad, sila ang nananaig, but actually it is God who is in control, no? So we can find the comfort in the fact na sa atin, kagaya nakikita natin ngayon, may giyera sa Middle East, may giyera sa Russia, akala natin para sila nagtatagumpay. All this is in accordance with God's plan. Why? Because He is in control of everything. You might say, napaka-unfair naman ng Diyos. Bakit may mamamatay? Eh kung yung sarili nga niyang anak offered him up, sinless, walang kasalanan, offered his own son as sacrifice to die on the cross, no? So why would we say it's unfair, no? So yung mga nangyari sa paligid natin, it's a reminder that God is still in control. Naalala ko lang sa nung September 23 and 24, kung sinasabi, oh, may mga giyera, ito na yung the end, ito na yung the end. Nalimutan ko sabihin, gusto ko sabihin, basahin niyo yung sa Matthew 24 verse 6, di ba? Pag kami nakita, there will be rumors of war. There will be wars, no? Hindi lang rumors, kundi there will be wars, di ba? Pero ano sabi ng Panginoon Jesus? Exactly right. Be careful, take heed, because the end is not yet. Pero sa mga nakikita natin ngayon, oh, gera na, malapit na, malapit na. Maliwanag yung salita ng Panginoong Jesus. When you have wars and rumors of wars, take heed because sabi niya, the end is not yet. Hindi pa, no? Hindi pa. So, nakakalungkot, may mga kapatid tayo na they interpret scripture according to events. No, we do not interpret scripture according to events. Let's not give meaning to events. The point is, God is in control, no? Ano man ang mangyari, no? Lumaganap man ang wickedness, ang kasamaan, huwag tayong manlambot, huwag tayong manghina, because at the end of the day, Jesus is in control, He is victorious, di ba? Sabi nga, for the past, within the last 3 months yata, or 4 months, namatay si John MacArthur. You would question, no? Very powerful. Even before John MacArthur was another preacher.
Body.
Tim, si John, si Kirk, si Chris Kirk, and then si Body Bocam, no? These are powerful preachers of the gospel. Talagang yung mga preaching nila talagang very conservative and very talagang solid na scripture, no? But at the end of the day, God has plans for this, no? Righteousness will not prevail in this place, no? Wickedness, sabi nga, in the last days, di ba? Many will turn away, no? Wickedness will rise. Huwag tayong manghina because Jesus is in control. The time will come when righteousness will prevail, not in this place, but when we meet God face to face. Kaya maganda ngayon ko na in tribute kay Body Bocam, di ba? Nung sinabing, he has left the land of the dying and has now joined the land of the living. And which is so true dahil dito, itong mundo natin, we are in the land of the dying. Lahat tayo mamatay di ba? We will all die, no? But John MacArthur, Tim Keller, Kirk, and Body Bocam, and the rest, many more, they are now in the land of the living. Why? Why? Because Christ is the resurrection and the life, no? Kaya kung minsan mo nakakaingit, no? They're now in the land of the living. Tayo andito pa, but we have our own appointed time. So yun ang point kay Lazarus, no? Very significant yun. Akala ng mga Hudyo sila yung in control, but in reality, it was God's hand that was all behind it, no? Akala ng mga Sanhedrin, yes, they were in control, pero it is God who is still behind it. Why? Yung ultimate plan niya of redeeming. Tinutubos niya yung kanyang mga anak. Now, just before, gusto ko lang balikan yung dito sinasabi ni John, no? Na the Passover of the Jews was at hand. Remember sa Exodus chapter 12, ano ulit? Inutos ni God, no? Inutos ng Panginoon Diyos kay Moses na lahat ng mga Israelita, every year, dapat gawin nila yung Passover ceremony. No? Nagkakatay sila ng meat, observe nila yon para ma-remember nila yung kabutihan ng Diyos who saved them out, who redeemed them, no? Who redeemed them from the land of Egypt. No? So, si Jesus Christ, siyempre Hudyo siya, no? Nag-perform ng mga miracles, inaasahan siya ng mga Hudyong darating sa Passover. Kasi importanteng festival din ng mga Hudyo eh. Yung makikita natin sa chapter 12, yes, dumating nga siya, nakasakay siya sa isang donkey, no? Isang donkey. Makikita natin ito on. But gusto ko lang muna makita natin yung significance at saka yung konteksto na si Jesus Christ may tangka sa buhay niya at the time. Hinahanap siya ng mga Hudyo, kumalat yung balita na siya ay dapat ipaalam sa Pariseo kung nasaan siya para siya ay arestuhin. Merong actual threat in his life. Alam din yan siyempre ng mga followers niya. Alam ng mga disciples niya. Alam yan siyempre Mary, nina Martha, at ng mga followers niya. Alam na mayroong threat sa life ni Jesus Christ. Kaya, sabi ng chapter 12, 6 days before the Passover, Jesus therefore came to Bethany. So, from Ephraim, bumalik ulit siya sa Bethany, which is malapit sa Jerusalem, no? Where Lazarus was, whom Jesus had raised from the dead. So, they, referring to, of course, Lazarus and his family, Martha and Mary, they gave him a dinner for him there. Martha served, and Lazarus was one of those reclining with him at the table. Mary therefore took a pound of expensive ointment made from pure nard, spiced oil from India or whatever it is, and anointed the feet of Jesus and wiped his feet with her hair because and the house was filled with the fragrance of the perfume. Titigilan muna natin dito dahil gusto lang natin makita yung bakit ginawa ni Mary ito? Bakit niya inanoint yung feet ni Christ? Yeah. Again, sabi natin, balikan natin yung context. Alam nila that Jesus was being the object ng pag-aresto ng mga Hudyo, no? May tangkang patayin ang Panginoong Hesukristo. So, nung dumating ang Panginoong Hesus sa bahay nila, alam nila yung danger na Jesus might be arrested anytime soon, no? Kaya makikita natin ito sa paliwanag na Mary was supposed to reserve that ointment for the burial, di ba? For the burial of Christ. Kasi alam na nga nila na he is about to be arrested and he is about to be put to death by the Jews. So yun yung yun ang gusto natin makita na background niya so that when we study further next meeting yung nangyari sa encounter niya with Mary, Martha, and his disciples, we should keep in mind na natatakot sila na anytime Jesus can be arrested, anytime pwedeng arestuhin at pwedeng dakpin ang Panginoong Hesukristo, no? So yun ang gusto ko lang i-point out tonight, yung significance ng resurrection of Lazarus. Hindi ko talaga ma-overemphasize yan kasi talaga napakahalaga, no? Napakahalaga nung miracle na yan. It was there for a purpose, firstly, to demonstrate that Jesus has power and authority over death. Kaya nasabi niya later on, sinabi earlier, I am the resurrection and the life. Those who die and believe in me, they shall live, and those who live and believe in me, they shall never die, no? Dahil na siya yung resurrection and the life. So yun ang medyo gusto ko lang natin pagtuunan ng pansin, and the lesson being that, God is in control of everything. Things may seem to be parang not going well, but we have to remember that God is in control of everything. He is in control of the events happening around us. Sa buong mundo, God's hand is behind all of it, no? Ibig ko sabihin nun na parang puppets lang tayo? No, of course not, no? Remember sa mind natin, limited ang ating understanding, no? Limited ang ating pagkakaintindi. No, of course not. Everything is done according to our own free will, but because God is so powerful, He is sovereign, He controls everything despite our own man's free will, kumbaga, no? That is how sovereign God is. That is how powerful God is. And hindi natin kayang i-absorb yan ng ating corrupt and sinful mind. We will only fully understand that pagdating natin sa presensya ng Panginoon, where we will have glorified bodies. Doon lang natin maunawaan lahat. No? Ganito pala yun. No? But for now, because of our sinful nature, because of our sinful state, we have limited understanding, no? Ng mga bagay na ito. He is Lord. He is Lord. He has risen.